days ago, President Tinubu signed the student loan bill into law, a momentous step towards transforming the educational landscape in our country. That was part of the promise of the Tinubu campaign of a renewed hope. When, before the election, the student loan bill aims to provide accessible and affordable financial aid to students pursuing higher education, enabling them to achieve their academic dreams without the burden of exorbitant tuition fees. This landmark legislation is set to revolutionize the way our students approach their educational journeys, ensuring that no deserving student is left behind due to financial constraints. Let's take a listen to the President's aide, Communications and Strategy Special Advisor, Mr. Dele Alake, the day the President signed this bill into law.
His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu signed into law the Students' Loans Bill. And that Students' Loans Bill, you all know what it entails, what it connotes, the meaning. This is a promise made during the presidential campaign by the then candidate, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that he would bring back the issue of the student loans issue onto the front burner, and today that promise he made has been kept. So this is a boom to our youths, to our students nationwide. Of course, there are prescribed qualification parameters, and that is the proof of indigenship.
All right, that's Mr. Dele Alake, President Tinubu's Special Advisor on Communication, Strategy and Special Duties. But to shed more light on this significant development and get the perspectives of the teachers in the universities is the President of the Academic Staff Union of Nigerian Universities, ASUU, Professor Emmanuel Oshodake. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
How much of the good news is the law to ASUU?
Well, as a union, we need to look at the law, get the authentic copy, because what we see online that it's not signed. We want to see the authentic law, want to review it, and look at it, and that's a union we can make a definite response to that particular, but for now we've not had that. But this issue has been on for a long time. This issue of loan and loan and loan has been on for a long time. So if we're going to talk about generally about the issue of education, this loan, student loan, and then there's no problem, we can talk about it because the history in Nigeria is well known. And,
from the days of the military.
Yes, even pre the military.
Yeah. Let me give, for the sake of our viewers, what does this law mean? What some of the highlights of this law? Take a look on your screen. What it entails. That right now you see that the main intent of that law is access to education. The bill hopes to dismantle the financial barriers often hindering talented individuals from pursuing higher education by offering them interest-free loans. So one thing that we can take away from that particular highlight is the fact that there are no interest on these loans. One, if you're an indigent student, there is a mark in the law of the income of the sponsor or the student, which will allow the student to be able to have access to this loan. So there will be an education loan fund. The Act established the Nigerian Education Loan Fund there. So there is a loan fund, something like an endowment. There is also a bank that will, a national education bank that is being established by these new law, the Nigerian Education Bank, which will have the mandates to give the student loan and the establishment of this bank, and is being allowed to be able to have branches, if it likes, in several parts of the country. But there will also be a committee to be headed by a chairman, which will have also yourself in that committee as the representative of ASUU. It will have the Minister of Education and also have different people from that in that committee. So bring back the information for the sake of our viewers. We're not quite done. So there is a repayment plan. there is no cap on the amount students can access. That means, I'm not sure now, I mean, I read most of part of the bill, but I can't remember if you are guaranteed to be able to go to a private university because in the private university you pay as much as 2 million, 3 million.
That's why I said we need to have access to the
absolutely, but yeah, there is no cap on how much you can pay. But then what happens is that when would you pay back? It says 2 years after your NYSC. So these are some of the highlights of this. So where do we start from, Prof? First and foremost, there is going to be help, succor for those who say whose parents cannot afford a university education. In my days, I went to university almost for free. I mean, almost a tuition-free education I got here in Nigeria, but I'm not sure that exists right now.
Well, maybe that's where we need to come in. The idea of student loan came in 1972, and there was a bank, just like this, established. People took loan, they never paid. You can't quite investigate, they didn't pay. In 1993, the military enacted a decree, Decree 50 of 1993, also stated a student loan board. It was, the National Assembly domesticated it in 2004, and within a year, it went off. So the money disappeared, and it was closed. So we want to see how this one will be different from those two.
There will be an initial 1 billion.
Yes,
that will be deposited into this bank to fund these.
1 billion by Nigerian standard today, education. 1 billion is nothing. 1 billion. Today we have up to 1 million students in Nigerian universities, and I can assure you, in public universities, 90% of them are grasping for air. Whether your parent in 500,000 a year, in 1 million a year, they are grasping for air.
What is the average school fees in the federal university these days?
Well, it moved from university. Some universities as high as 100 level, 200,000. Some universities as high as 100,000. So it's not, the students are already paying. But you see, why I say we need to get a copy of the law is that in one of those I saw online, they said the money will be used for paying tuition fees. That's only. So if that is for tuition fees, it will mean that the system has to introduce tuition, because there's not now for public universities. There's not. So if it's for tuition, that's what we say we need to study as a union, then interact with the government and say, what are the meaning of what you say tuition? What do we mean? So that we have the full coverage of what it is. But maybe if you can also project the source of funding, it's also there. The source of funding is there. If you have it. What I read online, that's why I say if we can get the real copy, that 1% of all revenue collected by FIRS, 1% of all revenue collected by the custom, and that all of them will be used to fund it. That's one of the things I saw there. I don't know. That's how I say we need to get a copy one. When we'll be able to speak authoritatively on this issue. If that is correct, what we would have thought is that you want to take care of these people who parents earn less than a bag of rice in a month. You know, are you following me?
I'm following you.
When you say 500,000 naira per, who earn less than 500,000 per annum.
Yeah, per annum.
If you divide that by 12, it comes to 42,000 naira per month, which is less than a bag of rice. Are you following? That is only those people who will have access to loan.
That means the mathematics is not properly done.
That means you have cut off more than 90% of the students. Because the minimum wage in Nigeria is 32,000 naira. So if you have father and mother, that is 60,000 naira, which is those with minimum wage. The husband and wife are working, are not entitled to it. And minimum wage is just the barest minimum of those who are at the lowest level. So what do you mean is that if that is correct, this is why I say we need to get the correct one before we can react. Yeah, I mean, if that is correct, I think to that point, it's part of and they say of the parent, they say of the father, which means if the father and mother are working and they are earning the minimum wage, automatically they cannot accept the loan. If the father is teaching in a secondary school and he earns 50,000 naira a month, the children are not entitled to the loan. But I mean, it is not only. That's what I said. There's a need for interaction. It is not only tuition, Prof, that makes learning accessible or gives you the platform to learn in a university. There's so many things that are tied to learning. I mean, as much as you know that there are a lot of fees also. I know that comes with it. Yeah. So if this covers only tuition, and there is a problem, you have to buy books.
You have to run a daily living. For those who get scholarship outside of this country, not the bursary. The bursary also covers a certain amount that is given to you by state or by local government. I mean, I have been a beneficiary of bursary endowment. But for those who get scholarship outside of this country, sometimes the scholarship will also cover even your transportation to come back into the country.
Good. You see, what we're saying, this is what we're saying, our view, as 2017, when we started negotiating with government, Babalakin, this was the idea they brought. And we say in a country like Nigeria, not sustainable. We as a union also did research all over the country, all over the world, on people who have benefited from this loan. And in some, they were committing suicide. If you find recently, the Biden is trying to pay back the back loan of someone who borrowed in the US. So what we are saying that if there is room for collective bargaining, as we have been talking about, we might not run into this space. If you look at our agreement that we are talking about, so some of these issues or these sources of income are there. But we are believing that this income will be better if we are going to give it to those set of students who are very poor. It should be called a grant, not a loan.
Not a loan.
You want to take care of those people who cannot earn more than 5,000. It should call a grant. Since this money coming from the federation account, it should be called a grant. So that these people can have access and know when they are graduating, they are carrying heavy load behind them, and within 2 years they don't pay, they go to jail. And two, let me also ask a question. So that we get it, without talking about collective bargaining, you now have views from all the sides before you got to an answer. The law also said, if that what I had is correct, that for you to get the loan, you must have 2 guarantors who are level 12 officers, civil service, or a lawyer of 10 years.
Yes.
How many people from those villages
have access to
those people? And two, how many Nigerians know that if you don't pay in 2 years, you go to jail, will sign as guarantor? How many?
So the conditions are stringent.
It's such that it's not practicable. How many people want to sign? Will you sign? Or 10 people come to you, say sign, and you have 2 years. If you don't, you pay 500 million or you go to jail. So that is what we are saying, that there is a room for collective bargaining. Let me give you an example.
Prof, didn't you hear about the public hearing? Didn't ASUU hear about the public hearing on this bill?
No. The only one we had was when the then speaker organized a summit and we were invited and we presented our view, which is exactly what I'm telling you. That it's better to look for alternative means of funding education than encumbering students who pay 30,000 naira a month with a loan. Let me give you an example. In 1993, when the military started the loan, that student bank, 1993, we negotiated with government that same year. And government said, this thing you asked us to do, how do we do it? We said, give us time, we will give you a report. And we gave them a report suggestion, which resulted in then ETF that collect 2% of profit.
Education Trust Fund.
ETF. If you watch, the ETF is blooming. Any university you enter today, 90% of the new structure are ETF, are not TED fund. Go to state university, federal university, 90% of the structure you are seeing, the training of staff now by TED fund. So the one we suggested through collective bargaining is blooming. The one they introduced by military fiat collapsed. So what we are saying that, look, this source of funding, if aggregated and become also a source of funding of federal universities, would have solved most of this problem.
And again,
without the
there are those who have picked holes in the application methodology or application procedures of the loan. For example, it talks about some of the things that Section 18 of that law says, student applying for loan under this act must apply to the chairman of the bank through their respective institutions upon satisfaction of the following conditions. Applicants must have secured admission into any of the Nigerian universities, polytechnics, college of education, or any vocational school, and listed all of the other areas. Applicants' income or family income must be less than 500,000 per annum, like you mentioned. Applicants must provide at least 2 guarantors. Each of the guarantors must be a civil servant of not less than 12 years in the service, or a lawyer with at least 10 years post-law experience, judicial officer, or a justice of peace. Then Section 19, Prof. A student is disqualified from accessing the loan, and it gave all of this. Section 20 talks about the fact that you now go apply through the Student Affairs Department of the institution. It gives a long list of the application procedures. And those who are saying, if truly these are indigent students, you have also created another bureaucracy which will allow people to be able to maneuver and put their own pressing in it and put all of those factors. If you are advising, because it's already signed into law, what would you be saying to the government?
What I'll be saying to the government is that this bill was proposed and arrived by the last
administration,
the ninth
National Assembly.
We are in a new setup. I would expect this present president, I know he has open-minded, listen to both sides. You need to sit down, put the committee together to take a comprehensive look at this issue. Do we make it a loan? From us in ASUU, we prefer make it a grant or make it a source of funding. It's a very big source. If you take 1% of money collected by IGR every month, it's a source of funding. Does it become a source to correct what you have in the university system, in the polytechnic and college education? So that
is a long list.
It's good.
All interest arising from deposits in the bank,
good.
Educational bonds, educational endowment fund schemes, 1% of all taxes, levies, and duties accruing to the government of the Federation, FIRS, Nigerian Immigration Service, and Nigerian Customs Service, 1% of all profits accruing to the government of the Federation arising from oil and other minerals, and there's a long list of where these sums are going to be.
If you put all this together, it will be as high as state fund. And when you combine these two, we won't have problem in the system. If all these are put together as a funding agency, just like you have state fund, and start also putting money into the system, develop infrastructures, give grant to those who are extremely poor. We are doing that as a union. If you watch recent lecture a few days ago, we had a lady in Gombe State University who don't have arms, Mariam.
And ASUU sponsored.
We have decided to give her a scholarship of 1.6 million.
Is there even funding?
And we also every year in every university we pick one indigent student and give a scholarship. ASUU. There are the branches, none of them give less than 10. That will give as a union. Because we believe some of these students cannot move on.
So, Prof, quickly, is there even grant for research in this country?
The only grant you have for research as at now is also the product of that 1993 agreement with government, which is state fund. All the grant
is it working?
Well, there are issues, there are problems. I also appeal to this president to take a comprehensive review of the operation of state fund. It has been colonized. Let me use that word.
Is there corruption in the process?
A lot of interest, people coming, politicians, all of you.
Are they stealing money from that fund?
Well, we won't call it stealing, but the
application of the funding.
Of the funding, contract for award of contract and others. So there is a need, just like we did in 2013, that we did the assessment program of all Nigerian universities, headed then by Professor Mahmood. There's a need for the government to put a committee to also assess that fund. How has it impacted on the system? Where are the areas where things are not working? Who are those who have embezzled the money so that you can support them?
Prof,
that's where we are.
Two quick questions, and we need to close quickly. One being the fact that from your own point of view as ASUU, this law is not practicable.
From our own point as ASUU for now, we don't have, like I said, until we get, because what we are seeing now, I've not seen a signed copy.
Is a copy that I've gotten from official quarters.
Official.
So what I've read to you and some of the thoughts that you have
copy, when we look at
seems to be in alignment with what I have.
Good. So when we get it as a union, while we operate, it's not individual union. We put a committee together to review it, and then come out with a report that will put forward.
But for what you know
what I've seen now, that there are issues that need to be resolved in that particular law.
Finally, I hope that ASUU will not be going on strike.
You see, let me also put it straight. Strike is not an issue in the Nigerian system. We started negotiating in 2017. Till now, nothing has happened. And nobody is saying a word.
Have you interfaced with the Tinubu government?
Well, we will, definitely we will. Because the beauty about this new president is that he's aware of what has happened from the beginning till now. The chief of staff, was also one of those who did everything possible to resolve this issue, but was neglected by the outgone regime. He did everything, and it was.
So you are hopeful on that?
We are hopeful that the thing will change. What I say that For issue of who went on strike in 2017 still has not been resolved. In 2023, the minister then had to run to court, and nothing has been done on those issues. Nothing. They are still there.
So there's a possibility of going back to status quo.
Our idea is that, look, this new regime will have an open mind, meet with ASUU, look at all the issues, and resolve them in the interest of Nigerian children. Any country that plays with education is looking for this. So that's our idea.
Thank you so much, Prof. And I hope that this student loan banking and the facility will also extend to those who are seeking postgraduate degrees, even up to PhD. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Prof. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's all.